Hi there, my name is Dylan, and today's review is going to be a little different than normal. I normally just do board and card reviews, but now I'm doing a book review. Well, the reason for that is that this book is set in the Fantasy Flight Games universe of Arkham Horror. And also, they released some promo cards with the book. So the book I'm talking about is Hour of the Huntress by Dave Gross. It stars Jenny Barnes and sort of her backstory for the Arkham Horror Universe. It also features several promo cards, including an alternative art card for Jenny Barnes, and also sort of a new sort of deck building option for her in the Arkham Horror Card Game. So I think a big question for a book like this is really that a lot of people are going to want it just for those promo cards. And I think maybe the big thing is it even worth that? The book has an MSRP value of about $14.95, $15. One thing you will notice is that it is a hardcover book. It is sort of very nice packaging. Looks gorgeous, as most Fantasy Flight projects do. The big negative is that the book is only about 100 pages, so really it's a novella, not a novel. That being said, I do think it is sort of a decent value. If you were to go off the promo cards being about $5 to get the set, which is kind of the going value for sort of promo cards. In general, usually, if they're readily available like these are going to kind of be, then the book's only about $10, which is somewhat reasonable, but really, I'm going to say it's really sort of up to you whether you want to spend that. I really wanted to check this out, largely because some of the previous Arkham horror novels have been alright. They were kind of a fun little romp, and they had some decent horror elements to them, and I was like, well, why not? It's a short, small little read. Can't hurt to just, support a game company I like, get some promo cards out of it, and hopefully get a decent read. That being said, it's barely passable. It's an okay read. I really can't say it was awful, but it's really just Jenny Barnes' backstory with a little bit more to it than normal. She's searching for her sister in Arkham, which is basically her backstory in all the Arkham horror games. And they didn't really do a whole lot beyond that. There are a few new characters that do pop up, and I'm kind of glad that, unlike some of the previous Arkham horror novels, they just didn't have cameos for cameo's sake. So at least there are no sort of random appearances by other Arkham investigators in this particular novel. That was kind of nice because usually when they do show up in some of the other Arkham horror novels, they just kind of are there. And they're just like, oh, hi, I'm here, and I'm going to do something, and then they leave, and they're not really important to the story at all. This focuses just on Jenny Barnes, which was kind of nice. There are a few new characters that kind of get introduced to her, which I am fairly certain are probably going to be investigators in either the card game, perhaps Eldritch Horror at some point. They have done this before. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that Luke the Dreamer in Eldritch Horror comes from one of the previous Arkham Horror novels. He was introduced in one of those, but I don't think he actually made an appearance in Arkham Horror, at least not to my recollection. So his first appearance was Eldritch Horror, and he's popping up in the other ones at this point too. So a big sort of negative about the book is that it's just really short, and it's so short that nothing really gets resolved. I guess that's because this is supposed to serve as like a prologue or sort of an introduction to the board game, either Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror or the card game. I guess that's what it's supposed to be, because there's no indication that this will ever be brought up again in a sort of a sequel novel or another of the Arkham Horror novels that are coming. There's one that has been announced, and I'm not sure what their plan is after that. I guess they want to see how it's selling. And I actually did check today just to confirm that price, and it's sold out, so I guess it sold relatively well. So another question that probably pops up is like, is this a good introduction to sort of the Lovecraft mythos at all? And no, it's not. So typically, Fantasy Flight Game doesn't really do Lovecraftian horror all that well. Mansions of Madness is probably the closest at this point, but even then, some of it's okay. It's tamed back a little bit in some areas, and this novel's kind of like that. It's really tame. You know exactly what going to happen for the most part, what's going to appear. The only thing is when Fantasy Flight Games tends to go into that horror realm, and it's sometimes a little surprising. Some of the older Arkham Horror novels were a little bit surprisingly graphic or sort of hinted at things that were very, very, very dark. This one doesn't really do that. It's kind of more the other type of horror that a lot of people do, which is basically just gore porn, for lack of a better term. There's just a fair amount of gore, and they describe it in kind of sickeningly gross detail, or at least somewhere close to that. It's not quite that disgusting in this novel or anything like that, but it's obviously that's really the only horror element in the novel, is that sort of goriness. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of horror. It's sort of really lacking anything of a mystery per se, and kind of the fear of the unknown, which Lovecraft had done really, really well. So as an introduction to the mythos, I wouldn't really recommend it. But if you're just looking kind of for a fun little novel that follows Arkham Horror, the board game, yeah, it's okay. And that's really all I really have to say about the novel. It's okay. I think really it comes down to, do you want to spend that $15 to get those promo cards or not? Because I assure you, probably 99% of all the purchases that have been made for this book are just for those promo cards. You might even be able to find those promo cards separately on eBay or somewhere else, and if you really just want to skip the novel, that's probably the place to go. I don't know if they're going to reprint this. It seems to have done pretty well, so they might, and then we'll probably see some more Arkham Horror type novels down the road. Them tying it to promo cards, interesting choice. I don't blame a company for trying to make money, and it's a pretty clever way to make money. It seems to have worked. At least their previous novels I felt were at least a pretty decent shot at Lovecraftian horror. I'm not sure this new sort of set, because they're so short, being only 100 pages, and also just not very focused. If they were more focused as the short stories of Lovecraft were, it's potentially these could be just as good, if not better, but they're just okay as is. So we'll see. Maybe the future novels will be a little bit more horror-esque, a little bit better, and they could, it's Fantasy Flight Games. They'll probably keep it pretty PG for the most part, but maybe hopefully they'll get into some PG-13 territory. So that's it for this review, and I'll see you next game night. Bye.